live. This is One for the Record. I'm Diana, and today is Sunday. It's Sunday early evening, and here's your update, as slow as it seems to be off the internet. Hopefully it will speed up. Here's your update for today. We're going to do Dr. Deagle, and I pre-recorded it. There's also some Alex Jones on there at the beginning, and I just wanted to show you something before I threw it out, which totally disgusted me. This says, it's a beautiful little cup, and inside of it, it says, as American as apple pie. As American as apple pie. It's hard to see it. I know it's not going to zoom in on it. As American as apple pie. Let's flip it around. And this cup from the Cracker Barrel. Good going, Cracker Barrel. It's made in China. It's hard to see it, but the cup is made in China. Made in China. What the hell is going on? Huh, Cracker Barrel? As American as apple pie, but you didn't have the cup made in China? Oh, no. That is so disgusting. So disgusting. Well, we're going to listen to something that's pre-taped, since everything's running pretty slow still, because this is the high-speed internet, you know. So what I might do, instead of turning off the camera, I might just face it to the wall. And you go ahead and go about your business, okay? And take care of stuff, make your lunches for tomorrow, turn this way up. Part of it is Dr. Deagle. And the very first part is Alex Jones from his Sunday show, I believe, today. So I got some of the Sunday show, I believe. It's just an excerpt that's kind of crazy. I wanted you to hear it. Some good information, some kind of, I don't know. It's good, though. And then just wanted to show you what's out there, what's going on, in case anyone else is listening. And then you're going to listen to Dr. Deagle. Now, I caught the last part of it, then it's going to wrap around again. So you're hearing the whole show, but it's going to be from the Earth Changes part of it. Then I'm going to jump back and forth to whatever I could get on there. Remember, I'm way behind because I was off line for 2 days, 3 days. So here you go. I want to get this out to you before it gets too late. Now, this is a long show, so don't sit there and just stare at a screen. You should go ahead and take care of business, alright? Use this like a radio program. Here we go. Stop, Max. Let's turn this around to the wall. It's the best way to handle that. There. You can just stare at the wall. You know? I could try to pull up something else, but I think this is the best bet. Just stare at this while I turn on this. Stop, Max! Max, stop! He's getting all excited. Okay, that's good. Right there. The cat doesn't run across it. Alrighty then, let's turn on the Nutrimedical report first. It's going to be Alex Jones. Alright. Maybe I should put that cup up there so you could stare at it. As American as apple pie. Look at this. I don't think it's even picking it up. Look at that. Oh. What a cup. Max, let me do this.
We have to decide as a civilization that we don't want to be deindustrialized and have all of our functions replaced by autonomous, pre-programmed robots controlled by the globalists. And in all their white papers, that's all they've talked about for 50 years, how they were going to get to this point. That's how I know every new step of their program. the entire underwater fleet, the entire surface fleet, the entire aircraft fleet, the entire ground force fleet will be robot. We've got different numbers of 2020, 2025, by 2015, the vast majority of the Air Force and Army's aircraft will be autonomous, not just drone. There's some guy that was playing video games that were really a primer. They have movies like The Last Starfighter. It's a good kids movie. I remember seeing it back when I was a kid, and I bought it. And, my son and I watched it. I think it's a little too old for my oldest daughter, but we watched The Last Starfighter last year. And the kid goes and plays the video game in his trailer park. And no one's ever won the game. And when he wins the game, a spaceship lands with a humanoid and says, all right, you're being recruited to join, this fleet because of the skills you have. And then he's taken off world to go be the last starfighter because before they get back to the base, it gets blown up. The point is that isn't life imitating art today, that's actually how these Connect and video games work, is that most of the people now joining the Air Force and other systems are video game heads, and we're actually playing on similar simulators for the decade and are now flying real drones, real Reapers, and bombing people and getting medals for it. Because the Pentagon developed video games before Pong and before all the first games in the 70s. They developed them for instinctive shooting and to train people to pull triggers, just as pop-up targets do, so that people wouldn't hesitate when they were confronted with another human at close range and would kill them. Boy, they've got where big troops kill people at rates of 95, 96, 97% up close and don't think a thing about it. Blow up a car full of men, women, children, won't even feel bad about it when a kid's crawl along with their guts coming out, blown in half. Because they've simulated the killing so many times with the video games that now it doesn't matter. This was all admittedly scientifically done to dehumanize us so that now as we're killed and as this is all turned against us, people can't differentiate because they've seen thousands of simulated murders on TV, hundreds of thousands on video games, where it's always zombies and monsters with the humanoid shape. To where now humans see themselves as garbage. And now people are going crazy thinking they're zombies and trying to eat people's faces off, showing the power of television to condition people. I mean, I saw studies about in the 50s and 60s, police noticed very quickly that if they had a big top TV show come out and have somebody jump off the Empire State Building or another big building on the TV show, that suddenly scores of people would show up that day or that night and would go and try to jump off the Empire State Building just because they saw it on television. Or if it was on the news that somebody did jump off a building, suddenly they'd have to station police there because people were going to jump off the building. This is the suggestibility of the population, and we've gotten more and more suggestible. It's like when we're in a hypnotic state and you can have a magician get you to trick your mind into doing what they say and believing a potato is an apple, or walking off the stage and falling on a mattress. And the people really are doing it because they're under mind control. And that's what the television, this whole culture is. That's why people can't wake up as the government goes, yeah, we're spying on you. Yeah, we're torturing and killing people. Yeah, we'll kill you. Yeah, we're putting cancer viruses in your shots. Hey, you know what? We did lie. That H1N1 does kill you. That vaccine does eat your brain. Don't worry, we're going to give you a shot soon where even those of you that resist us and are resistant to all the programming and chemicals, it's not going to matter. The virus is going to go in and attack your brain and destroy your key centers of resistance. You're going to not be upset anymore. It's like a body snatcher movie. Just go to sleep. When you wake up, it'll all be all right. But just take this shot. There's not going to be any more getting upset anymore. You're upset about all this stuff happening? You're not going to be upset anymore. Join us, join us, join us. This is how heavy reality is. We're going to see things that blow your mind, that blow my mind. End of the world? It isn't 2012, folks. That's just getting you conditioned. See, they have the Christians all taught to lay down that it's the end of the world. Not a teaching that was in the Bible, a pre-tribulation until the last 170 years or so. So everybody goes, oh, praise God, they want us to take chips. That means the end of the world's here. I'll be teleported out. Oh, yeah. Like all the Christians in the Bible that were teleported out? But they had to face it before God delivered them, and only sometimes, and that was part of God's plan. And you know in your gut you're not going to escape any of this. All of you cowards out there who think you're going to escape the New World Order, you're not going to escape jack squat. You understand that? You're going to face reality. That's history, that's common sense, that's God's universal law, and you better get used to it and better get ready for it. Because you'll line up and take the shot, won't you? Because you are going to want your free will taken. The mark is a genetic engineering weapon program where you willingly are told you're giving up your free will and join the matrix with a viral nanotech injection. I've known this for a long time, but it's totally clear now. That's what it is. But they're not the soft kill they try to do without you knowing, but there's some universal metaphysical law that when they really get ready to take your free will, you're going to have to give it up and decide to be a biological android. And that's the real mark of the beast. And that's why you can't repent and God can't take you back, because it literally is going to wipe your brain. Now, the spirit will still be there, but you're damned. You're cut off. Wow, I didn't mean to start preaching. I said I'd go to your calls, and got a lot of other news here. The Sandusky thing, in closing, shows you how a whole institution with hundreds of people at the top could know that there was a whole pedophile charity going from the most prestigious universities in the country, churning out all the big pharma heads. You notice how all the Homeland Security heads and big pharma heads and FBI directors, it's all coming out of this school.
Why? And the Canadian icebreakers aren't able to keep up with it.
Yeah, in fact, I was watching some of these shows that are on the Discovery channels and History channels about the Arctic ice. In the last 3 years, the ice has been advancing more than any other time in recorded history along the Arctic Ocean. Yeah. And we know for those people who are wondering, well, why is it so hot in the Midwest and they say in the United States? That's because of the drilling at the Macondo British Petroleum site 2 years ago, which caused the destruction of the wind currents. And all that heat's been trapped there in the Gulf and pumping up into America. So extremes in climate are the standard, which is a 4 on the Torino scale. You also give a recommendation for buy a couple of rabbits as pets for your kids this year and learn how to set up a rabbit hutch or a worm farm. Be prepared to move into the basement and spare room if your impact winter comes. People realize that climate change is something that the government expects to happen, and they're trying to get their New World Order and their global control grid in place long before all hell breaks loose. That's why there's such a panic.
That was not humorous.
I know that. I know it wasn't humorous. I know it was a real suggestion, but I wanted to kind of put a little spin on it to make it look like it's humorous. But in fact, people say, well, why do you do this last hour on Fridays and talk about horrifying things like you're talking about all the wellness and everything? Look, if you're taking nutraceuticals like a radiation protocol, you're taking nutraceuticals to protect yourself, you've got your food, you've got ageless life support, glycemics, and NutriComplete, you're ready with your water and your guns and everything, you're going to be fine. Most likely what we're going to have is something where the power gets knocked out, a big portion of the population goes crazy, we'll have civil defense by our militia, we'll finally get our act together. People will be deputized by the hundreds of thousands, say, here in California. And every city in town, and I know this from working with the government, within 4 to 12 days will be controlled by either gangs or civil militia. The military is not even part of the equation. They're going to be protecting the powers that be in a continuity government because they're such a tiny force compared to the size of our actual armed population. There's enough military armaments and power in the civilian population of the United States that if they assembled every army of every nation on earth, they could not take on the American public. Yeah. That's a fact. And the fact is that only the American public could defend itself from gangs armed to the teeth because there are so many of them. When I was in Denver back in the late 90s and up to 2004 when I lived there, we had over 2,800 gangs just in a little city like Denver, which is 2.6 million people. I live in Southern California where we have 26 million people, 10 times that population. And you can take that number and add at least one more zero, so around 22,000 gangs. And so some of these gangs are not little gangs, they're big gangs too. And they're armed to the teeth. Many of them have military skills, high-speed motorcycles, all kinds of weapon systems and tactics. Often they're ex-military. People need to be prepared for the fact that real things are going to happen, whether they like it or not. And something as simple as the power went out. I remember talking to people at the local Albertsons September 8th last year. They were having fist fights in the aisles, fighting for ice. So the food wouldn't rot in their house. Well, we got a 20-kilowatt generator. I'm putting on lithium pyrophosphate batteries. We're going to have more experts talking on the show regarding that. You want to have alternative water recovery. I put a water recovery system on our roof for recovering water. If you have the ability to put in a well, put in a well. Be prepared to also have extra so you can help your neighbors and friends and inspire them to have self-protection, have guns, have other non-gun things so they can protect themselves and have skill sets so they know what to do to protect themselves and to grow food. I happen to be out in the country in North County, San Diego, but I tell people, if you're in a big city, get the heck out now. Move. Do not be in any big city from this point onward. If you have to move so many miles out and commute in, do it. But do not live in any big city. Live on the outskirts. Live close enough you can get yourself out of there. And if things look really bad, you have to have a plan to be able to bug out long distance. Right now, to me, my bug out is here. I don't plan on bugging out further. I believe that we're far enough away from anything that if anybody tries to cause trouble, we have so many Marines per square yard here in North County, San Diego. We have a standing army here. So, your comments, Ann?
Yeah, well, what I was saying is that if this asteroid 2012 day 14 were to hit, and if the impact were great enough, then we might have what they call an impact winter. And in that case, you won't have UV coming down to the earth. You won't be able to grow food, and the animals and plants that are on the surface of the earth will die. There'll be a mass die-out. And so what you need, and what I recommended in the note that I sent out to you, was that people put in a system of UV lights and get a couple of rabbits of the right genders, and don't tell the pet store owner what you're doing, because you may end up slaughtering each animal just to survive. And then the worms go underneath the rabbits, and the rabbit droppings are not so, they're not as odoriferous, and the worms will eat them and turn them into soil. So what you do is you have a worm pen underneath the rabbit pen, and you can set that up in a spare bedroom, and then you let them lay, then you have constant, at least, need for a while. You'd have to have a UV light on them.
Yeah. Now, people need to understand that what's going on in Japan is there's a major birth radiation that's coming here, and I've got to report that 5 out of 7 Fukushima babies born have birth defects, Down syndrome, or miscarried. And people don't understand that. Yeah. People need to understand that. Now, you're a nuclear expert, Chris, and you see this happening. I've been trying for now a month to chase Senator Wyden's assistant, Mary Gautreau, and I can give that phone number if people want to get to contact her. Her number is 503-326-7525, and you need to harass her too to say, contact Dr. Deagle. I'm the keynote speaker now for the Academy of Environmental Medicine, first week in October in St. Petersburg, Florida. I'm going to present to the Academy the data of what's going on and what's likely to happen. This is the biggest environmental disaster, and it's on top of the Macondo British Petroleum disaster, which also has Corexit 9500, with petroleum distillates to dissolve the myelin sheaths and membranes, cause neurotransmitter problems and cortical atrophy in people. The combination of radiation toxicity with cesium, which also causes toxicity to the brain, seizures, and neural decay. And when you put oxidative stress, you basically make people decorticate and decerebrate, affecting the higher metabolic areas of the frontal lobes first and the areas of the association cortex for speech and language and communication. So we're going to start seeing much more bizarre behavior as the radiation level is higher, and the amount of birth defects is going to go right through the ceiling.
But let me just bring up Unit 4, Fukushima spent fuel pool, if I can, just for a minute. They are trying to, they announced it today that they're going to try to move some of the fuel. They are concerned about the seawater. Remember, we talked about salt water and the corrosion effect.
Decorroding it, yeah.
And, whether they listen to us or we were just thinking the same lines, now they've stepped up their efforts to try to remove the fuel, and they're going to take a test run on it, put it into a container. I'd love to see what this container looks like, because if it's any of the hotter, newer fuel or something, it's going to need some sort of a coolant in it. And they're going to use 2 cranes, and they're going to somehow coordinate move this to another storage facility, and they're very concerned about what the salt water has been doing to this and whether they can actually even put it in a larger pool. Remember, they also have that waste reprocessing facility. So, you know, this is going to be a pretty arduous task.
Well, these fuel rod pellets are inside of bundle arrays. And if the fuel rod pellets have agglomerated and the bundle arrays have actually been twisted by the debris, the things that have happened there, they're not likely to come out smoothly, which means they're going to either fall apart because of neutron annealing, or they're actually so bent that they're not going to come out as a single bundle array, and you may end up having to take out huge chunks of these all together. So it's a great big mess. This is not like taking normal fuel rod assemblies out by just popping them out and then sticking them in another area. And they're concerned that if this goes, it's going to pop. And the fact is, they lost the non-interruptible power supply. It's virtual guarantee that sometime this seal, and you talked about this in some reports that they took this show and they brought it over when I was gone on the 15th of June and again on the 21st on E&E News, and they put the audio up. But I want to repeat this, Chris, so people really grasp it. When the seal goes in that reactor, no amount of pumping or uninterruptible power supplies or anything will stop it from going critical. And then when those fuel rod assembly bundles go, the minimum radiation, and you quoted this back, I think it's, what was the name of the scientist in April that reported it? Was Dr. Gailey? Dr. Gailey, he reported, and we have that report posted up in the PDF. Gailey's report shows that the radiation load will be 30 to 100 times more if only 10% of these fuel rod assemblies blow their cork. So we're dealing with radiation release that's so massive, it'll make any work in the entire area impossible, and that radiation burp will come to North America, and we're going to start seeing more and more birth defects, more premature babies dead, more senior citizens weakened, more plagues likely, also the death of birds, butterflies, and other insects, because many of these animals and birds and butterflies are very radiosensitive. The only things that are not are things like cockroaches.
In my mind, this just confirms what we've been discussing before, because they're obviously concerned. They were going to start this operation in 2014, and now they've stepped it up to soon.
And so, by the way, contact Diane Feinstein's office too. Again, Senator Feinstein's involved with that mission. Her San Diego office is 619-231-9712, and her office in Washington, D.C. is 202-224-3814. We need the ones that even showed some concern, we need to continue to harass them so that they deal with these issues of getting data, as I recommended from commercial airliners, and then getting an international military and nuclear mission to actually contain this mess before it comes here en masse. Yeah, Obama bill for people that are, quote, opted into the health care plan, all newborns, and has to be implemented 36 months after the finalization of the bill.
But it wasn't passed, though.
Yes, it was. It's all done. This is not...
Really?
Yes. You see, people are in what I call...
I've got emails.
I got a new term called...
Yes, it is, and then someone else said, no, don't worry, it's not really passed.
No.
It was left out.
No, it's not left out, no.
Or something 3,200 or...
No. It's all finalized. It's all done. See, people don't understand this. They want to think that future leading edge stuff is like decades later, century late. No.
They do? I'm with you if they're there.
Why do we do that? We need to respond quickly. We cannot stand on the turn of Obama. If you actually look at the bill, you'll see it's all right there. The videotapes I put there, YouTube videos up. I posted an actual document Wednesday and Thursday shows. Wednesday and Thursday on the show archives there. Just going to show you what it makes right there. And then more info yesterday. You'll find the PDF. I don't look at that yet.
2.5, 3 feet from it.
Yeah. Yesterday on the PDF, you'll see the actual document, PDF, with the government bill, right there. You can read it yourself.
Oh, did? I wish I'll do that when I get out here.
And you don't like that ID chip. No, you won't. No.
Then we'll start with Connie from Arizona. A good friend, Connie over there. She has a funny kind of a plan, but she thinks that we'll probably be able to help her to find out if this has actually happened. A friend of hers, he's 59, told her that he had 3 clogged arteries.
Right.
And he went into a compression machine.
It's called extracorporeal counterpulsation therapy.
Okay, there you go, Connie knows everything. And, well, not everything, but, a few things. And anyways, he grew 3 new arteries.
Well, what happens is...
Right off of his heart. And she wonders, can he actually grow 3 new arteries?
Well, there's small collateral circulation and they'll expand in size, yes.
Yeah.
What happens And usually between 2 and 6 months, your arteries will completely collateralize and you'll have no need for bypass. So most people who go for bypass, it's completely ridiculous, especially when you're older. When you're younger, it's also dangerous because when you go on the ECMO machine, you swap emboli to your brain, so you get brain injury, right? So you get what we call post-ECMO brain. And if you end up going on our nutraceutical protocol, including Neovasc and our fatty acids like omega supreme krill and carnivite, etc., and you go on extracorporeal counterpulsation therapy, you always lay down, and for half an hour or so, 5 days a week, they put the trousers on, and we EKG that picks up 18 heartbeats and pulsates to your legs, and that's all you do. Easy. This thing is written by someone in grade 6. There are all kinds of flashy pictures, but no substance. They talk about who knew what when, and how they know it, how they respond to it. Nothing doing with radiotoxicology, the danger for a major release of radiation, for the purpose of radiation from Fukushima, from multiple sites, including Cooling Pool 4, reactor number 1 that's shown criticality in the past, reactor number 3, MOX reactor. It's just a pile of garbage. Of course, the issues for social responsibility I've been along to for many years, for 3 decades. I stopped some years ago because I started to do some things that I didn't agree with. But Executive Director Catherine Thomason said the American regulators and the federal government should take heed. This report should serve as a warning. The U.S. has the same cooling system between industry, regulators, and government. There are some reactors that will never have adequate evacuation plans as they are too close to human populations to be managed with severe consequences should a catastrophe accident occur. Those will remain problematic because this is the same mindset as in Japan that such accidents could not occur in our country, hence there is inadequate preparation. And the Commissions for Social Responsibility, President-elect Dr. Jeffrey Patterson said that this report demonstrates that no government or industry is prepared to adequately deal with the short or long-term consequences of disasters such as Fukushima. Now, I've been stating this for some time, and I'm going to reframe it so people will get it if they haven't gotten it already. They are being assaulted with radiation. Everybody, not just in the northern hemisphere, but in the southern hemisphere as well. Radiation surges due across the equator. Everybody is showing out radioactive thorium in their urine, according to Dr. Bernhoff that we had on a few weeks ago. Everybody is now showing radioiodine in their body, which is damaging mitochondria. Everybody is getting a degradation of their immune system function, natural killer cell activity. Everybody is living under what's called radiation stress. And it's not just external radiation from the cosmos, which we call ground level radiation caused by rocks that give off beta particles or electrons, alpha particles, or weak gamma. Now we're talking about not just background radiation from flying at a higher altitude that come from the cosmos. We're talking about radioactive fleas inside your body that are hundreds of thousands, if not millions of times more dangerous because they implant and they continue to act like a little mini Fukushima inside your body. The worst of these, in terms of mitochondria, is radioiodine 131, and there's fresh radioiodine 131 being released every day from Fukushima. On top of that, strontium and cesium. Collectively, their half-lives may not be around for several hundred years if it's stopped. But if it continues to be released, the amount released will be around for several hundred years. The radioiodine, if it's stopped, will be around for about a month. And the fact that we're still showing radioiodine means there's an ongoing and increasing level of radiation. And we've already put out reports last week that the level of radioactive seafood, seaweed, and other things along our coastline will double next year. Well, that's very conservative. The fact is, the level of radiation is not petering out. We're likely to have a very soon major release of radiation from at least cooling pool number 4 alone, let alone all the other reactor sites that are doing nothing to stop the corium from going deep underground. And I hear what I call inane ideas like putting a bomb to collapse it into the ground. That wouldn't solve anything because it would make sure we hit the groundwater even quicker, probably collect the corium, and it wouldn't blow it apart, and most of it would be aerosolized into the upper atmosphere very quickly, causing a major global disaster. So what we have to do here is we have to cover these with spider silk, Kevlar tents. We have to filter the air and convert to a solid. We have to form a corium catcher underneath it, form seawalls, filter the water out of the area. We have to watch this forever. This is going to be a watch site. It should also be the graveyard for all conventional current nuclear reactors. All reactors on Earth need to stop. If we're going to have reactors, they have to be much more advanced, where we don't really have radioactive waste afterward, like helium-3 nuclear fusion tokamak reactors, which, by the way, we've had for over 30 years, but they won't release the technology. The reason is the global power that be, which follows the British edict system, is advanced technologies like limitless energy. They don't want the public to know. floating in a sea of garbage. Much of it manufactured at great expense by the powers that be because they wanted people to not know the truth. Well, the truth is, you need to have a civil defense procedure, and part of that is Nutrimedical. Nutrimedical is the only diatomic iodine in the world. Nutrimedical will protect your body and your mitochondria from halides, which is xenotoxins and estrogen toxins from fluoride, chloride, and bromide. It will protect your cells from invasion of pathogens. It will protect your mitochondria from mitochondrial lysis, where the mitochondria are damaged and cause a tremendous surge of free radicals. It will protect your body from the surge of increased, for example, TB and rubella, that now they're having a major explosion in Japan. And I expect other plagues to come out of Japan because of the increasing weakening of the population. And the proof that we now know that the pathogen inside a host is safe from radiation will accelerate the transformation into a super pathogen, including super MRSA, now we have super rubella-resistant TB, all coming out of Japan. So, John, when people take Nutrimedical, it's pretty amazing how their energy level comes up, their brain wakes up, their immune system comes back, their core body temperature rises, their stealth pathogens, including chronic yeast infection. Every diabetic, everybody with a chronic illness like autoimmune diseases, scleroderma, psoriatic arthritis, polymyalgia rheumatica, everybody with chronic Alzheimer's disease, no matter what the cause, if your brain gets inflamed, if there's stealth viruses or oncoviruses, they get activated. And Nutrimedical is one of those protectants that will kill off the pathogen so it won't increase the brain inflammation and further cause neuroglial changes, S100 protein and other neuroglial changes that cause damage to your brain cells and turn off neurons so they no longer fire in your neural networks. So tell us what your thoughts are in terms of civil defense with Nutrimedical.
Well, Dr. Bell, everybody needs Nutrimedical in their home, in their office, immediately. Start taking it right away. As the isotopes are out there floating around in the air, we need to get protection. The best protection we can get is to get Nutrimedical in us daily.
Exactly. Our dogs or cats or pets. And people should start realizing that here's a scenario, and I'm not sharing this prophetic or otherwise, but here's the scenario. Let's say on X date, and let's say it's going to be August of this year, or September. Just say, maybe we'll call September 11th. Maybe Fukushima blows another big burp of radiation September 11th. I don't know, it will not, but I'm just saying that for sake of putting a date on it. Or maybe it's next March after we have the next, what they call selected president. Now all of a sudden we have not only a massive evacuation of Tokyo, but we also have radiation cloud heading toward North America. We call it civil defense. And people don't have any preparation. They're trying to find potassium iodide, which is toxic as hell. If you take it longer than 10 days, you risk of getting polyneuropathy, heart failure, and kidney damage. Now, most people don't read the small print on these things, but they can Google it themselves and say, oh my gosh, why do you think the government pulled? Because a lot of people were panicking after March 11th last year taking potassium iodide. Potassium iodide should be only under doctor's supervision, and it's a really old treatment that's out of date. Also, the other ones that are available, iodoral, iodocaps, etc., all of the forms of iodine are all salts, and you can get toxic with them very quickly. You can't get toxic with diatomic iodine until the dosages are in its natural diatomic form that the body has to bioconvert salts to the diatomic form in the thyroid gland and explode it everywhere. So if you want protection, get our first line of defense kit for biological infections, get a radiation kit. There's additional products you can add to that, including cell detox fluid. Imagine buying Fukushima. I guess it leaves a little tingle on the tongue from the radioisotopes, and believe it or not, people are actually considering eating this. Japanese report on the Fukushima reactor is a real wake-up. Of course, people are not waking up to the fact they're being poisoned. Interesting story about Angelina Jolie's father is now defending Brad Pitt's mother's comments, and Brad Pitt's mother's comments are interesting because Brad Pitt's mother made headlines with an anti-gay letter to the editor when she called on conservatives to support Republican presidential frontrunner Mitt Romney. And now Angelina Jolie's father is coming to her defense. So John Boyton comments on Fox News Entertainment said he supports Jane Pitt and agrees with her anti-gay pro-Romney views. Good for her, he told Fox's 411 Pop-Tarts column. So good for you, John Boyton. And so a lot of people in Hollywood actually have a few clues. Ms. Romney's search for a vice president takes a surprising turn to home. So New Hampshire's Republican Senator Kelly Oyette is one of the people they're looking at. She apparently marched on July 4th parade and moment, Obama is ahead, but that is going to dissolve. He's having great trouble raising money.
Well, I guess the tape went off. Wonder if it's YouTube. No, YouTube's still going. I'm gonna flip the tape for you. Just one moment. Guess we ran out of tape. Hopefully you guys can hear this. Do that. I'm moving the camera around now. Oh. Just one moment. Stand by. The way I'm doing it is the best way for you to hear it. Here we go.
I got somebody emailed me a portion of an MP3 that I couldn't upload. But I know we've talked about this over the years, that you have a tap-in of knowledge from your sources that there are elements of the continuity of government that have received information about an incoming object to our solar system and have been told that this could impact on our continuity of government. And we know that the two primary things of an incoming object, because it's not going to come within 55 million miles of Earth, this, they call it Planet X, or the better term would be a dwarf star, most likely a Class 3 red dwarf,
or
not a black dwarf star, but a red dwarf star, because it's releasing radiation in the infrared and the X-ray bands, which are picked up by the IRAS telescope and other telescopes that are consortiums of international cooperative research going on with the Meson telescope under the ice sheet in Antarctica and also in other countries. There's been an astronomer actually come on here in Brazil, it's well known, that said that now they can see it. I mean, there's no doubt that there's an object in our solar system that comes back every 3,600 plus years, that this object can cause gravitational waves that can affect earthquakes and volcanoes, and it can cause coronal mass ejections. And we're moving into solar cycle 24 by next year. We're going to see some major CMEs. There's one actually heading toward Earth as we speak. It's actually holocentric, which means it's actually it's going to be a direct hit, and we don't know how bad the damage will be because it's an X, it's a lower X class, which is the highest class of radiation, but it's the lower part of that scale. It could potentially cause ground radiation, cellular currents. It could blow power generators, power lines, and affect ground level communications and satellites. And our civilization couldn't stand a Harrington event 1859 again. If it happened in our day and age, our civilization would screech to a halt with no gasoline pumped, no cars delivering food, no trucks, no freeway activity, no lights, no internet, no communications by telephone or any other means. We would have some real serious problems almost immediately.
Well, it would be instantaneous, Dr. Bill. Here's what's going on. The dependence of people in the military who are considered part of the continuity of government contingency planning, which is a tiny part of the U.S. military, maybe 2 or 3%, are getting briefings that they need to be on standby. They may get as much as 2 weeks' notice. They may not get that much to pack up a carry-on bag, one bag of luggage, and abandon all the other personal property, clothing, appliances, furniture, and get out of Dodge. These briefings began last week, and my contacts will alert me when this thing goes down. We're expecting any time between now and possibly the 1st of November. These briefings would not be conducted 6 months or 8 months in advance. Anywhere from 1 month to 3 or 4 months at the most.
Yeah, for my sources, I mentioned on this program, a lot of people were skeptical. Oh, these are just making it up. Just like they said I was making it up about the RFID chip that was approved 6 months before the Affordable Care mandatory vaccinations for adults. And that could be up to 50-plus vaccines. I mean, people don't understand just how crazy things are. And also, the government's fully aware of this. In fact, the fact that they're not allowing the population to be aware and to start doing civil defense, because the government, including FEMA, doesn't really have any resources. They just manage the resources that are in place. So that's right. That's us. We need to have deputized people. We need to have people with personal resources. We need to have alternative power supplies. When I contacted after September 8th problem last year, the local authorities here in Southern California to find out here, and not only across America, but in any country, virtually every country has backup power for pumping water. But nobody, and I haven't found any country or any place yet in America, Canada, or anywhere, has backup power generators for treating sewage. So after 4 days on average, just without the other. Right, so after 4 days they have to shut off the water, not because they can't pump, because they have backup power generators for the fire department and for the cities and towns across America and elsewhere. They don't have backup power supplies for treating the sewage, so they have to shut off the water. Now, 4 days without water on your Liverpool protocol, you're dead.
Well, the reason for this, Dr. Bill, the fire departments and fire districts are the ones that made sure there was power for the water. And the fire districts really don't care about sewage. It's really not their interest. They want to make sure they can put out fires.
Right. Yeah. Now, the other thing is the power supplies are more and more fragile. And our systems, by the way, when we now have gone to the smart grid, makes it easier for the Blue Army in China to actually hack in and destroy our power grid. And we're in a sense, in a technical economic phase of a world war against China and Russia right now. This is not a maybe. This is already happening. That war, in a sense, the war warning shot was September 11th, 2001. We're in the 11th year, and I expect this year the self-inflicted wound of the debt monster they've unleashed that will destroy Europe and fully federated Europe is the move toward a grab for powerful global government. And we don't mind if they release a plague in the time where they don't deal with Fukushima, because now we've got resistant rubella and resistant TB showing up in Japan because we have a weakened population. And people think, oh no, Dr. Deagle, it's all made up. We're not going to have a plague of H5N1, H1N1. I have the documents. 1997, 15 years ago, March 16th, I got it right from the World Health Organization headquarters in Basel, given to me by scientists and doctors in a private meeting, who gave me the documents. The WHO were directly planning this. They actually made the AIDS virus. They had a vaccine that they've been sued internationally regarding to stop pregnancy and the human chorionic gonadotropin. The World Health Organization, these globalists, are mass murderers. And people say, Dr. Deagle, that's just an exaggeration. It's a conspiracy theory. It's a way to besmirch my name to say this. So I'm not saying this because it's nice. I'm saying it because we could stop it. If we just had a tiny portion of even the population wake up and say, you know, I think that Deagle may be telling the truth. And that means senators and congressmen. I have had now a month of harassing Senator Wyden and getting nowhere. So now I started calling Senator Dianne Feinstein regarding what happened in Fukushima. And I expect that in the next few weeks, maybe months, a major burp of radiation from Japan, and we're not going to have any advance warning whether it's an air flight that goes through a giant radioactive plume, or radiation brought to ground by rain, or just by air masses that brings it to ground even in broad daylight without rain. We have no advance warning that we're going to have a major radiation burp that's going to hit our populations. And the doctors are not trained in environmental medicine to pick up subacute radiation sickness. They're not going to have any idea when people start brushing their teeth and bleeding, getting disoriented and vertigo, getting vomiting, having all kinds of problems with bloody diarrhea, difficulty with weird infections showing up all of a sudden. People are acting, hair falling out, breaking out ulcers and sores all over their body like they had a sunburn, but there's no sun. The doctors are not trained, okay? They're not going to know how to pick this up. They're like I don't think anybody should be practicing medicine or nursing or any health profession, including chiropractic or naturopathy, unless they have some additional training in environmental medicine and civil defense. I think it's an obscenity. The doctors in the 21st century don't know more environmental medicine. And I mentioned that with Dr. William Ray. I think it should be a requirement of medical school, chiropractic, naturopathy, and any, quote, helping profession that thinks that they know. And we need those kind of training things, too, for policemen and firefighters, because they're going to be involved with the local dealing with environmental disaster, because we're going to have them.
So, absolutely. Well, most of these doctors, Dr. Bill, would spend a 40-year career and never see anything related to radiation in their entire career. So
they don't recognize it. Listen, I worked in Central Illinois, and I was the director of the Occupational Environmental Clinic at the Pekin Hospital. They had one of the largest nuclear reactors in the United States, who's one of our clients. And I can tell you the local doctors didn't have the faintest clue on how to recognize radiation sickness. If they had a worker that was exposed to radioactive releases inside the reactor site, they had no idea how to diagnose them. They had no idea even how to look at the peripheral blood smear, what cell type changes would occur, what kinds of symptoms people would present with in CNS or otherwise. They didn't have the faintest clue.
Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, not even the faintest clue, yeah. Ann, are you there?
Yes, I am.
When we come back, I want to hear an update on what's going on with the CME this evening. Welcome back, and what's happening with this holocentric CME? We have repeated ones, big ones. Last time, about a week or two ago, was a less than X class, an M class. This is an X, I think, 1.0 class, but it's actually direct hit towards the Earth. Where is it likely to strike, and what consequences might happen? Again, this is a warning shot that tells us that as we get into more and more energetic kill shots, we're likely to have degradation of our power grid, degradation of satellites for satellite communication and internet, which supports all business. The level of radiation also can affect behavior of humans because the magnetic field affects the transportable membrane of your brain. And the cellular currents, we know, are the things that cause the release of the flies, the gnats, and the frogs that occur even at the plagues of ancient Egypt. We know the cellular currents, even cataloged by the ancient Greeks during the passage of the near planets like Venus and Mars that cause major transfer across interstellar space, cause the release of pests deep in the ground caused by these currents, caused by interplanetary plasma discharges.
Well, they are seeing red cockroaches over in Singapore, and the government says that they'll go away. So they said these
red cockroaches now. Well, yeah. Is this a new color, or is it mutating, or what's happening?
I have no idea, Dr. Lou. But yeah, we did have a flare from AR1520, and AR1520 is in the middle of the solar disk. And when you have a region, sunspot region that's in the middle of the solar disk, then anything that comes out of that region will be Earth-oriented. Well, they will be coming towards the Earth. They won't just be on the side of the Earth. They will come directly at us. And they've already had, this was a very strange flare. It was an X1.4. Now, the current terminal event, they think, was an X54. Remember, they were talking about a logarithmic scale. So we're talking multiples of 100. But we do know from the current event that X54 is possible. And it could be possible in the sunspot cycle maybe this year, next year, or the year after that.
Right, and we're in that danger zone.
We're in that danger zone for the next 3 years. And what happened was that they strobed the poles of extreme ultraviolet radiation. So we had the electrons, and the electrons hit the Earth and went down the magnetic lines of force. And then we had a strobe, like I said, of ultraviolet. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of people with sunburns, because that ultraviolet is coming through the atmosphere now. And
people need to realize that those weaker frequencies like A will tan you, B will burn you. C will actually cause cancer. It can actually go through objects like clothing. D is so powerful it even goes through the side of a building. People don't understand that ultraviolet light is not just a minor thing. The D means death. And cosmic background radiation, a lot of it, when you see the sun during the day, there's a time if the ozone layer was gone and you went out during the day with the sun's radiation, it would kill you. You would not be able to go during the day if the sun was not shielded by the ozone layer.
So after that, then the protons, of course the protons are 7,000 times heavier than the electrons.
Yeah.
So they come in afterwards, and they charged up the atmosphere, and they even had auroras around the South Pole. Now that is very, very unusual. But they got pictures of them up on spaceweather.com. how strong the proton storm is. Although they only mention it as an S1, solar storm level 1, and they go up to a 5. So it's possible that it could go higher. They're still watching it, but so far it's still at an S1. Now, in addition, it unleashed a CME, and that's a coronal mass ejection. A coronal mass ejection is a cloud that is very complicated and very compact magnetic lines of force. It's not an electrical magnetic force. It's just magnetic. So it involves our magnetosphere, which goes in with the North Pole, comes out of the South Pole, and circles around the Earth.
Right.
Excuse me.
You can actually push it into the Earth and push it out the other side as well. When those kind of forces come in, they actually push it like a balloon being pushed through the water. It pushes it down toward the surface of the Earth and pushes the magnetic flux field of the Earth and the lines of force out into space on the opposite side of the planet.
Yeah, the dark side.
Yeah.
As it turns out, we've had a fairly strong IMF, and that's an interplanetary magnetic force. And you see in IMF, when the sun, for instance, is trying to align its magnetic field with a planet's magnetic field, or when a planet is trying to align its magnetic field with one of its moons. So they know about the IMF, and in our case, the Earth with the sun, it flips directionally every 8 days. So that means that if we were to align our magnetosphere with the sun's, our magnetosphere would be flipping from north to south every 8 days. Alright, that's bad to think about. Anyway, the coronal mass ejection, they've updated, they think that it's coming faster than they thought, and they think that it's going to come in about the 14th of Saturday, about 9 UT, so you subtract 5 to get to Central Time, and 9 minus 5 is 4. So at 4 a.m. Tomorrow morning, it'll be hitting the Earth, and then it'll continue to hit the Earth. You have to understand this cloud is bigger than the Earth, much bigger than the Earth. And so it'll continue to hit the Earth as the Earth turns. And so just because it hits at, let's say, 4 a.m., that doesn't mean that that's all there is. It's not a strobe. It's a continuous beam of magnetism. And you're right, it'll push the magnetosphere towards the Earth on the sunlit side and away from the Earth on the dark side. Now, on the dark side, you think you wouldn't have any impacts from that. But as it turns out, when the magnetosphere is stretched out on the dark side, the electrons that circle the magnetic lines of force are pulled back towards the Earth, and they actually accelerate towards the Earth. There's an acceleration of the electrons back towards the Earth, so you do get electrical effects on the dark side of the Earth.
One of the things, if you're flying at low altitude, during a CME where the magnetic flux field of the Earth is pushed in deeply, you can actually be flying at 30,000 to 40,000 feet, and you're actually above the magnetosphere of the Earth, or low Earth orbit satellites, and these satellites can get fried because of cosmic background radiation. You can get a major increase in even space-based radiation, even if you're at altitude. So we know I posted this in 2007, and I talked about it when I gave my information to Senator Wyden, that there's a certain amount of background solar and cosmic radiation, but when you're flying at altitudes when there's a CME, that might be 10 or 20 or 30 times higher radiation. That's why astronauts flying a CME have to go inside special chambers of the International Space Station so they don't get cooked.
Well, that's right, but this is still just an S1, and so they don't think that it's going to do that. On the bright side of the Earth, what can happen is you can have surges in the power lines, and you can have ground currents. The ground currents will take out the emergency diesel generators, the nuclear power plants, the unit power plants, and the line currents will take out your electrical equipment. So tomorrow, you miss your television set.
Welcome back, and Andy, you've got some major information about this asteroid that's been watched for 3 years. 2012 DA-14, 175 foot, which can take about 800 square miles. It's got a greater than 1% chance of an impact on the Earth in the next period of time. When do they expect the passage of the Earth? What date do they expect it to pass?
Yeah, they've already figured that out, and that would be February 16th, 2013. So
it's interesting, the day after my birthday, so,
are you serious?
Yeah, I'm serious. Yeah, February 15th is my birthday. I was born midnight Valentine's.
Anyway, this asteroid is not one that's in the asteroid belt. This is an asteroid that came into the solar system.
Yeah, from the Oort cloud. It's an Oort cloud, so it might be. You mentioned something that John mentioned. Can you tell us about that?
Well, he thinks that it could be part of the scraps that follow the NIBIRU planet.
Yeah, in other words, it's orbital debris that's around the red dwarf star that's coming into our solar system.
So this one may be a small one. It would be further out from the red sun.
Right.
So the next ones that come in, I mean, this won't be the only one. It's got a lot of objects around it, and the heavier objects will be closer to it, so they'll be bigger. So this one is big enough, though. This one would wipe out an area the size of the country of Luxembourg in the Eurozone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if it hits land, that's what it would do. It would wipe out. Now, the last one that hit was the one in Siberia that hit in 1908. And it hit up in Siberia. There weren't many people living there. But we still can see the effects of it because it just, all the trees fell down. I mean, you can tell that something hit. And there was a huge explosion because all the trees around it, the size of the state, of the country of Luxembourg, are all flat. I mean, the landscape is flat.
Yeah.
So that's what it would do. Of course, it would hit near a population, so that would be a disaster. But it would be worse if it hits in the ocean. And the reason it would be worse if it hits in the ocean is because, one, it would cause a tsunami, probably.
Right.
And depending on where it hit, there would be coastlines that would be wiped out. But the impact would actually cause water vapor to go into the air. I mean, there's so much kinetic energy. This thing is 197 feet long, or 79 feet long.
Yeah, so
it's huge. And there would be enough kinetic energy, even if it broke in two.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's really interesting. Yeah, that's really interesting.
And then we might have an impact winter.
Exactly.
An impact winter would mean that they would put the amount of
crops.
energy.
Yeah, very high energy, ultraviolet light, and it would be dangerous during the day especially. Plus, we'd have a failure of all the crops around the world.
Well, not only that, you'd have incessant rains. You'd have major flooding all over.
Wow. Yeah. You know what that's like in California when you have mudslides. We have Chris Harris here and Robert Felix. Chris, I understand you give us a little bit of updates. Give us the latest. I've got the emails here that we posted up right after the show. You have a couple reports about the 20 senior officials from the Korean hydro-nuclear power arrested for corruption. You've got an updated report on issues going on with Fukushima in terms of lots of things going on. Can you give us the kind of the summary of what's happening and how serious it is?
Okay, the blackout is one of the major things that did Fukushima, and it turns out that in Korea, one of the largest plants in the world is the Core Unit 1. Had actually, for 12 minutes, a radio station blackout where the units were not working and the off-site power didn't work. And recently, that was in January of this year. And it was a big management cover-up. And now it looks like these managers, I can't remember whether 13 or 16 of them are being sent to prison over that. And that's exactly what needs to happen.
Yeah, the Koreans are much more serious in terms of taking it seriously than the Japanese. They've got radiation detectors in the fish counters in their grocery stores. They're not messing around with this at all, are they?
No, it seems like, I was kind of surprised, shocked, and really dismayed that the industry is lacking. We talk about the adult leadership and the lack thereof, and the regulators can't count on them to do anything more than eyewash.
So more than eyewash from the replacement of JASCO. Who's the new regulator for the nuclear industry? What's your name?
McFarland.
Yeah, he's apparently a geologist, and from what I hear so far, there's no rulemaking, there's no still kind of cracking the whip. Nothing's happened. JASCO is trying to actually crack the whip that you can't restart these reactors. You have to turn off reactors. They better backup power systems. They deal with extreme weather. They're not prepared for anything. It's very extreme weather this year, which we now expect to be a very extreme summer for very, very crazy weather with the heat we've had the last few weeks across America. We're likely to see many tornadoes and extreme weather. They're likely to cause more station blackouts, more flooding, more danger to our nuclear facilities across America.
On the phone, he really was happy day to hear again. I think Jasper was more like a real scientist. He was trying to do something. And the industry wasn't going to take care of us. I'd rather we take care of ourselves, honestly. I don't want to have a regular. I don't like police looking at me. I don't like that. I want to get over it. Mature enough to handle it and step up to the plate and be adult about it and handle it ourselves. But now that's what happens. That's what they was trying to do, trying to get them into shape. And now it looks like that's what happens. You get ousted. So, well, let's see what happens.
Well, what else is happening? Robert Felix, what else is happening in terms of the ice age that's happening? We're seeing crop failures everywhere, Argentina and Chile and Peru. We're seeing now crop failures of the corn in America, extreme drought, extreme heat now across the Soviet Union, still called Soviet Union because as far as I'm concerned it never ended, and Russia and all these other countries, the Eastern Bloc. Things are really not good. I mean, the second largest wheat producer, Russia, is going to have a major destruction of their crop if it continues the way it is now this summer. What's happening?
Well, a big one that I'm not seeing in the United States media, but what has been published overseas, there's a new finding out that the Earth has been cooling for the last 2,000 years. And it just thoroughly debunks the claim that the temperatures on the planet today are in any way historic or unprecedented. This is a study that was a new study of tree ring data, and they have taken measurements back to 138 BC, and they show that the Earth is slowly cooling. And I have a graph on my website showing that downward trend for the last 2,000 years. This particular graph shows the Roman warm period when it was warmer than it is today. It shows a migration period when it was colder, and so that people migrated. Then it shows the medieval warm period, and it shows the ice age, and it shows today. And it's just, you can just see that trend line going down and down and down. But the United States media is just not reporting on that. Some of the other things that I've got, Arctic supply ships today are stuck in what the Alaska Dispatch called brutal Bering Sea ice. Now that's another one that you probably haven't heard of lately, but it just came out that the ice is so thick that it's closing in around the icebreakers before other ships can follow. So these brutal sea ice conditions that northwest Alaska battled all winter. I know that, southern, the mainland United States, the continental United States has been warmer, but Alaska, we got to remember, Alaska is part of the United States. And these resupply ships, this is the middle of July, and the Canadian icebreakers aren't able to keep up with it.
Yeah, in fact, I was watching some of these shows that are on the Discovery channels and History channels about the Arctic ice. In the last 3 years, the ice has been advancing more than any other time in recorded history along the Arctic Ocean. Yes. Yeah. And even though for those people who are wondering, well, why is it so hot in the Midwest and the southern United States, that's because of the drilling at the Macondo British Petroleum site 2 years ago, which caused the destruction of the root ferns. And all that heat's been trapped there in the Gulf and pumping up into America. So extremes of climate are the standard.
Is it possible to reverse osteoporosis? Yes, thanks to Collagen Max from NIBIRU. GM. Great Talk Radio starts here.
Welcome back, and I didn't realize that sometimes you've got quite a sense of humor. When you gave this report about asteroid 20 2012 DA14, which is a 4 on the Torino scale, you also get a recommendation for buy a couple of rabbits as pets for your kids this year and learn how to set up a rabbit hutch or a worm farm. Be prepared to move into the basement and spare room if your impact winter comes. People realize that climate change is something that the government expects to happen, and they're trying to get their New World Order and their global control grid in place long before all hell breaks loose. That's why there's such a panic.
That was not humorous.
I know that. I know it wasn't humorous. I know it was a real suggestion, but I wanted to kind of put a little spin on it to make it look like it's humorous. But in fact, people say, well, why do you do this last hour on Fridays and talk about horrifying things like you're talking about all the wellness and everything? Look, if you're taking nutraceuticals like a radiation protocol, you're taking these nutraceuticals to protect yourself, you've got your food, you've got ageless life support, Glycemix, and NutriComplete, you're ready with your water and your guns and everything, you're going to be fine. Most likely what we're going to have is something where the power gets knocked out, a big portion of the population goes crazy, we'll have civil defense by our militia, we'll finally get our act together, people will be deputized by the hundreds of thousands, say, here in California, and every city and town, and I know this from working with the government, within 4 to 12 days will be controlled by either gangs or civil militia. The military is not even part of the equation. They're going to be protecting the powers that be in the continuity of government because they're such a tiny force compared to the size of our actual armed population. There's enough military armaments and power in the civilian population of the United States that if they could assemble every army of every nation on earth, they could not take on the American public. That's a fact. And the fact is that only the American public could defend itself from gangs armed to the teeth because there are so many of them. When I was in Denver back in the late 90s and up to 2004 when I lived there, we had over 2,200 gangs just in a little city like Denver, which is 2.6 million people. I live in Southern California where we have 26 million people, 10 times that population. And you can take that number and add at least one more zero, so around 22,000 gangs. And some of these gangs are not little gangs, they're big gangs too. And they're armed to the teeth. Many of them have military skills, high-speed motorcycles, all kinds of weapon systems and tactics. Often they're ex-military. People need to be prepared for the fact that real things are going to happen, whether they like it or not. And something as simple as the power went out. I remember talking to people at the local Albertsons September 8th last year, and people were having fist fights in the aisles fighting for ice. So the food wouldn't rot in their house. Well, we got a 20 kilowatt generator. I'm putting on lithium pyrophosphate batteries. We're going to have more experts talking on the show regarding that. You want to have alternative water recovery. I put a water recovery system on our roof for recovering water. If you have the ability to put in a well, put in a well. Be prepared to also have extra so you can help your neighbors and friends and inspire them to have self-protection, have guns, have other non-gun things so they can protect themselves and have skill sets so they know what to do to protect themselves and to grow food. I happen to be out in the country in North County, San Diego, but I tell people, if you're in a big city, get the heck out now. Move. Do not be in any big city from this point onward. If you have to move so many miles out and try and commute in, do it. But do not live in any big city. Live on the outskirts. Live close enough you can get yourself out of there. And if things look really bad, you have to have a plan to be able to bug out long distance. Right now, to me, my bug out is here. I don't plan on bugging out further. I believe that we're far enough away from anything that if anybody tries to cause trouble, we have so many Marines per square yard here in North County, San Diego. We have a standing army here. So, your comment, Dan?
Yeah, well, what I was saying is that this asteroid 2012, DA14, where did it hit?
And that, of course, was repeated at the beginning, so you could hear it at the beginning what she's saying. That's how I started the show off. I'm a show off now. Alrighty then. You have a wonderful evening. And we still got part of Sunday. I'll see you again tomorrow. And that was Alex Jones at the beginning from the Sunday show. And then after that was Dr. Bill Deagle's Nutrimedical report. And I'll see you again tomorrow. Take care.